हाँ। मगर वैसे वो ज़्यादा सख्ती से बात करते भी नहीं हैं।
अपने में रहने वाले
वह
में से
अपने वो ज़्यादा किसी के करीब आते नहीं हैं वो।
अपने में ही रहने वाले
हाँ,
रिजर्व आदमी है।
हाँ।
और बाकी जो इंडस्ट्री थी, जब आप लोग हटे, आप लोगों की जोड़ी हटी, तो बाकी इंडस्ट्री का क्या रिएक्शन था उस समय उसके बाद?
कुछ लोग तो खुश होते हैं कि अच्छा हुआ। कुछ लोगों को तकलीफ होती है। अलग अलग लोगों के व्यूज़ होते हैं, अलग अलग लोगों के साथ। तो
पर आपने उसके बाद लोगों को बदलते हुए देखा? आप अपना अलग जब काम लेके जाते थे,
ये
अकेले जब काम लेके जाते थे,
हाँ,
तो उसकी रिसेप्शन किसी अलग तरह
नहीं
की
वो
होती?
तो होता डेफिनेटली था वो तो।
पीपल वर
हाँ,
चेंज्ड।
आप जो
Hello and welcome to India Global. I'm Gaurie. Let's get you the headlines this Thursday evening. First up, from Bangladesh, where the court has rejected the bail plea of Chinmoy Krishna, a Hindu priest who has been arrested and jailed by local authorities on charges of sedition. Meanwhile, senior lawyer representing Chinmoy Krishna was attacked when he went to court and was saved by police. French President Emmanuel Macron is expected to name a new prime minister soon. Nomination comes after 2 days of meetings with party leaders to pass a budget that will address France's debt. But the meetings at on Champs-Élysées excluded the far-right National Rally Party and the hard-left France Unbought. In the largest single-day act of clemency in modern history, US President Joe Biden is commuting the sentences of 1,500 people and pardoning 39 Americans convicted of non-violent crimes. FBI Director Chris Wray will resign at the end of Biden's administration, clearing the way for Trump nominee Kash Patel. Trump celebrated Wray's resignation, calling it a great day for America. All right, on to the big story that we are tracking right now, which is the UAE foreign minister is in fact in India, and the two countries, that is UAE and India, are expected to carry out a comprehensive review of their strategic ties today, as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will host his counterpart for wide-ranging talks. Al Nayan, also the Deputy Prime Minister, is paying a 3-day visit to India to explore talks to further expand ties between the two countries in a range of key areas, including trade and investment. The meeting comes as Syria goes through a political turmoil with a change in regime. The two leaders are expected to discuss the crises facing the Middle East in greater detail, and Al Nayan is also scheduled to call on Prime Minister Modi, and after Modi's landmark visit to the UAE in August 2015, bilateral relations between the two countries have been on a major upside. All right, let's get in my colleague Mohammad Ghazali to fill us in with the very latest. Mohammad Ghazali, this is an important visit here, and talk to us about what all is lined up on the agenda.
See, first of all, we should know that UAE is one of the very key partners of India in the West Asia, and the current situation in West Asia is such that we have heard our foreign minister on his trips in West Asia asking people to also, basically the Indian diaspora, to be aware about the situation in West Asia and also about India's stand in West Asia. So if you see in the last 1 year since the conflict has started between Israel and its neighbor like Lebanon or Hamas in Gaza, India has been very steadfast in reiterating the point that they have got valuable partners in West Asia, and it is not an isolated situation where India is just seen backing Israel due to its military, you can say, cooperation or assistance from Israel, but India has also been providing aid to these war-torn nations like Lebanon, like we had in Gaza. India has been providing aid. But this particular meet, which is going to happen in some time from now, because the Foreign Minister of UAE will be meeting Prime Minister, and at around 8 p.m. he is going to have a joint dialogue with India's Foreign Minister, Mr. Dr. Jaishankar. India and UAE in their previous meetings of joint dialogue back in 2022 had vowed that the kind of investment between India and UAE will by 2027 it has to reach around $100 million. And one part of this entire meeting will focus on the kind of investment India and UAE are looking for. Also, the big focus will be also on contribution of the Indian diaspora, because not just in UAE but certainly in the entire West Asia, UAE, Qatar and Saudi Arabia are the three major players. So India is focusing in two sectors for collaboration with UAE. One, India has been opening educational campuses in UAE. That is one sector where India has been sort of showing a lot of cooperation. Besides that, we know that India and UAE both are part of the IMEC corridor, India Middle East European corridor, and the first leg of that corridor goes through UAE. So these two issues will certainly be the part of the discussion when Dr. Jaishankar will meet his counterpart after some time from now.
And while of course, you've clearly outlined in terms of the upswing in the relations and also the kind of opportunities that lie in the wake of what's the turmoil that Syria is going through, in the wake of Donald Trump set to be in power in about a month and a half from now, how do these relations get impacted? India's relationship with several of these partners, particularly UAE and some of the others, in the wake of all these external changes that are taking place?
See, it is very significant because if you see in basically, Gaurie, you know that in diplomacy, nothing is like, it's very black and white or linear, because basically with the West Asian nations back in Asia, even India, China, Japan, many other countries have good relations with their West Asian partners, but India has a very unique stand because India has got very good relations with Iran as well. It has good relations with Israel as well, and also with these major players like UAE and Qatar. Though India cannot directly play the role of any mediator, but knowing the fact that India has good relations with Israel, we know that back channel talks continue to be happening, whether it is related to the maritime security because of the Houthis attack near the Red Sea, or even with Syria. If you see the developments in Syria, India had been providing aid and other kind of assistance to the Syrian people, though India had also asked for lifting sanctions against Syria when Bashar al-Assad was in power back in 2021 as well. So India has got a very unique position that despite being geographically away from the site of these conflict there, India is actively involved and has a position to even play that role if offered to.
Yes. All right. We leave it there. Mohammad Ghazali, appreciate you taking out the time. And staying with this region, in fact, Syrian rebel forces have announced plans to shut down the notorious prisons those that were operated once by the ousted President Bashar al-Assad, and have vowed that they will hunt down those responsible for the killing and torture of thousands of detainees. Rebel leader Ahmad al-Shara, also known as Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, revealed his intention to dismantle the security forces of the former regime. This move gives human rights groups the long-awaited chance to inspect these prison sites and also reach out to several of those witnesses and possibly build watertight legal cases against Assad and those of his other members of his regime. But there's growing frustration as the ultimate goal of these efforts is to bring Assad to trial, yet he remains out of reach, having taken exile in Russia. Following the fall of Assad's government, videos have emerged showing thousands of prisoners being freed from some of those prison facilities described by human rights organizations as a slaughterhouse. And as per UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, nearly 60,000 individuals were tortured or killed in Assad's prisons. In fact, staying with this region, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has arrived in Jordan to kick off his important set of meetings aimed at addressing the fallout from ouster of Bashar al-Assad. Remember, there's a lot of fluidity in this region, and which is why you have the U.S. Secretary of State set to be in several of these important dialogues. He will be at Aqaba, which is a Red Sea city, and he will meet King Abdullah II. And then he'll, of course, move on to Turkey, which is one of the biggest gainers in all the turmoil in Syria. And Blinken has emphasized the need for an inclusive process to establish the next government in Syria, ensuring protection for minorities following the end of Assad's brutal regime at the hands of Islamist rebels. The U.S. has called for a Syria that no longer serves as a base of terrorism or poses a threat to its neighbors, particularly Turkey and Israel, both of which have heightened security concerns following Assad's fall. Israel has intensified its military strikes against Syria in recent months, and this marks Blinken's 12th visit to the Middle East since Hamas's 7th of October brutal attack on Israel, which really set a chain reaction, so to say, in this entire region. And Blinken's previous visits have been marked by frustration, particularly in his efforts to try and broker some sort of a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that still hasn't happened. All right, on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side with lots more stories. Stay with India Global.
For such gentle souls, working donkeys in the Middle East lead terribly hard lives. For such trusting animals, donkeys are too often abused and exploited. These sensitive, loyal animals often suffer the cruelest pain. This is the hard, painful life that donkeys in Egypt, the West Bank, Israel, and Gaza have to endure. Too often, it's not only a hard life, it is also a short one. But there is something you can do to make their hard lives much easier. Please call Safe Haven for Donkeys on 0800 144 5804 or go online and give a life-saving gift of just £2 a month. Safe Haven for Donkeys is dedicated to transforming lives in the region. Your gift means our mobile vet clinics can provide emergency treatment for injured donkeys. We heal wounds and ensure donkeys aren't suffering. We also work with local communities, helping them to look after and cherish their donkeys. You'll help make sure there's always a place at our sanctuaries for abandoned and abused donkeys who have nowhere else to turn. Please call Safe Haven for Donkeys on 0800 144 5804, text SAFE6 to 84902, or go online and give just £2 a month and help change a donkey's life today.
Join me and the Style Squad. Shop now exclusively at Freeman's.
At Vodafone this Christmas, get the amazing Google Pixel 9 Pro XL and you can save a huge £648. Plus, now you can chat with Gemini to supercharge your creativity. Hurry, offer ends 19th of December. Vodafone, the nation's network.
Unleash the power of hands-free lighting with Neck Bright from JML. The powerful and versatile wearable neck light. Easily adjust the direction or how bright you need the light. The lights are also detachable and the magnetic base lets you attach it to any metal surface, giving you the right light when and where you need it. Discover the ultimate hands-free lighting solution this Christmas with Neck Bright. Only $19.99 from Asda, Argos, Homebase, Tesco and jmldirect.com. JML, your Christmas made easier.
Imagine Christmas without the Salvation Army. Imagine George alone on Christmas Day. Mike, cold and frightened. Charlie, hoping Santa will come. Without the Salvation Army, many people would have nothing this Christmas. Please call 0800 028 9111 and give £19 to bring gifts and hope to vulnerable people this Christmas. That's 0800 028 9111. Thank you.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We now turn our attention to, well, the latest that's unfolding in South Korea, political drama that refuses to come to an end. The turbulence in South Korean politics continues as the country's ruling party is now backing attempts to impeach President Yoon over his ill-fated decision to declare martial law that sparked a political crisis and widespread anger amongst the public. The announcement came moments before Yoon delivered a defiant speech where he attempted to justify his hugely controversial martial law decision and rejected growing calls from across the political spectrum for him to stand down. And Yoon defended his martial law decree in what he called an act of governance and denied rebellion charges and rejected the opposition-led impeachment attempts and investigations against him. Listen in to what exactly he had to say in terms of the turbulence that continues in South Korea.
하루가 멀다 하고 다수의 힘으로 입법 폭거를 일삼고 오로지 방탄에만 혈안되어 있는 거대 야당의 의회 독재에 맞서 대한민국의 자유민주주의와 헌정 질서를 지키려 했던 것입니다. 그 길밖에 없다고 판단해서 내린 대통령의 헌법적 결단이자 통치 행위가 어떻게 내란이 될 수 있습니까? 대통령의 비상계엄 선포권 행사는 사명권 행사, 외교권 행사와 같은 사법심사의 대상이 되지 않는 통치 행위입니다.
The main liberal opposition Democratic Party has submitted a new impeachment motion against Yoon after the previous attempt failed as a majority of the ruling party MPs boycotted the impeachment vote. Listen in to what the opposition parties had to say. If Yoon is in fact impeached, his presidential powers would be suspended until the Constitutional Court decides whether to remove him or not. Listen in.
오늘 오전 담화로 이 시간 현재 윤석열의 정신적 실체가 재확인되었습니다. 헌정 수호를 위해 헌법과 법률을 위반하고 실패할 계엄을 기획했다는 발언은 극단적 망상의 표출이고 불법 계엄 발동의 자백이며 대국민 선전포고입니다.
All right, shifting focus from South Korea to Canada, where the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's 180-degree turn in immigration policy has hit the country's higher education sector really hard, as the Trudeau government now capped foreign student permits earlier this year, a population key to sustaining Canadian universities. But the once thriving industry is now reeling from job losses, program suspensions and possible closures, especially at smaller institutions, as government continues its crackdown on foreign students, temporary workers and even permanent resident targets to relieve its strained housing, that is the job market, and also the job market and public services. This report tells you just how serious this crisis is in Canada right now.
It is time to make the adjustments to stabilize the immigration system that we need and get it working right for Canadians for right now.
Canada has clamped down heavily on immigration this year.
Immigration. Let's talk about it. In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years.
According to the new policy, the Trudeau government will cut down immigration by around 20% in 2025. The permanent residence number will be 3,95,000 in 2025, 3,80,000 in 2026 and 3,65,000 in 2027, down from 4,85,000 in 2024. The number of temporary residents is also set to decrease by about 30,000 to around 300,000 in 2025. Earlier this year, Canada slashed the number of international student permits it issues by another 10%. The government said that the new target for 2025 and 2026 will be 4,37,000 permits. In 2024, the target was 4,85,000 permits. The objective of the government is to offset social and housing pressures by vastly cutting the number of temporary residents in the country. But the question is whether the dramatic changes have worked. The answer to that raises several questions in turn. According to a Bloomberg report, the changes have rattled Canada's higher education sector. The once thriving industry is reeling from job losses, program suspensions, and possible closures. International students make up around 18% of university students in Canada. According to the report, colleges have had to suspend dozens of programs and cut jobs to manage their budget. Some colleges are planning to lay off as many as 400 workers. Many colleges are planning how to adjust to fewer students in future. To keep operations running without new revenue from foreign students is also emerging as a big challenge. With his popularity already in tatters and calls for his removal getting louder, the drastic immigration policy changes seem to have sprung up an unpleasant surprise for Justin Trudeau, with the ripple effect being felt on Canada's education sector. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
All right, in the largest single-day act of clemency in modern history, U.S. President Joe Biden is commuting the sentences of 1,500 people and pardoning 39 Americans convicted of non-violent crimes. The commutations announced are for those who have served out home confinement sentences for at least a year after they were released. Prisons were uniquely bad for spreading the virus, and some inmates were released in part to stop the spread. At one point, 1 in 5 prisoners had COVID-19. Donald Trump has promised to end birthright citizenship as soon as he gets into office to make good on campaign promises aimed at restricting immigration and redefining what it means to be American. Birthright citizenship means anyone born in the U.S. automatically becomes an American citizen. It's been in place for decades and applies to children born to someone in the country illegally, and also those who are on a tourist visa or a student visa in U.S. So any efforts to halt the policy is likely to face steep legal hurdles. Now, what does this mean and how significant this is? My colleague Parmeshwar Brava breaks this down for you.
US President-elect Donald Trump has recently reiterated his intention to end birthright citizenship, which is a right enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution. So if enacted, this move could have far-reaching implications for millions of Americans, especially immigrants, including those from India.
The concept of birthright citizenship was established under the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution, which was ratified in 1868 after the Civil War. It states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside.
In terms of a basic explanation, this means any person born on US soil, regardless of their parents' immigration status, automatically becomes a US citizen. It was designed to grant citizenship to formerly enslaved people and their descendants, but has since been applied to everyone born in the country.
Donald Trump has long opposed birthright citizenship. During his first term and especially his second term campaign, he has called the practice a magnet for illegal immigration, claiming that it encourages people to enter the US illegally with the hope of giving birth to a child who would automatically receive citizenship. So in terms of plans for change, Trump has proposed issuing an executive order to end birthright citizenship. He has previously argued that the 14th Amendment does not automatically apply to children born to non-citizen parents, including undocumented immigrants. But if the executive order doesn't succeed, Trump has suggested that a constitutional amendment could be pursued, though this would require approval from Congress. In terms of the impact on immigrant families, for children born in the US to undocumented immigrants or non-citizens, parents may lose automatic citizenship. This could create a scenario where children born on US soil are not considered US citizens, unlike the current law. And if we talk about Indian Americans in the US, Trump's plan could particularly affect children of Indian immigrants who are on work visas like H-1B or green cards. These children currently enjoy US citizenship if born in the country, but they might lose that status if birthright citizenship is abolished. There are also legal and social challenges. Legal challenges are almost certain, as many believe that the 14th Amendment clearly provides for birthright citizenship. Any move to overturn this law would likely trigger a constitutional debate and potentially a Supreme Court case. In terms of the impact on children, about 7% of the US child population includes children of illegal immigrants, according to the Migration Policy Institute. If these children are no longer citizens, they could face difficulties in accessing federal programs, healthcare, and education.
Then there's also the birth tourism debate. Birth tourism refers to the practice of non-citizens traveling to the US to give birth so that their child automatically becomes a US citizen. Trump has criticized this as an abuse of the system, often highlighting cases where pregnant women come to the US specifically for this purpose. Trump has previously also proposed restricting visas for pregnant women from countries deemed to be engaging in birth tourism, claiming that it burdens the US immigration system.
If birthright citizenship is abolished, undocumented immigrants might face even greater challenges as their children would no longer be granted US citizenship. This could lead to a decline in immigration from countries where birth tourism is common, though the long-term effects remain unclear. Immigrants in the US on work visas or green cards might also be impacted, as their children may no longer automatically be granted citizenship upon birth. This could make the immigration process more complicated for families planning to raise children in the United States.
Trump's plan to end birthright citizenship is likely to continue to evolve with potential executive orders, legislative proposals, or a constitutional amendment. The challenge will be to navigate legal hurdles and political opposition, of course. Trump's position on ending birthright citizenship has sparked a significant national debate about the interpretation of the 14th Amendment and also the future of US immigration policy. But for millions of children born in the US to immigrant families, this change could have lasting consequences. Whether through executive action or constitutional amendment, the outcome of this battle will shape the future of US citizenship law for generations. Parmeshwar Bava for NDTV.
All right, with that, we're slipping into a very short break. We come back with a special focus on Bangladesh after this very short break. Stay with us.
Dealing with my lot means making smart choices. And with our family growing, I want to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought, and could help my husband pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee and 99% of claims having been paid, you'll have peace of mind.
I'll go ahead.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Hello? Hello? I need help.
Hello? I desperately need a place to stay.
Every 10 minutes, we get a call like this from another homeless young person. This Christmas, we're expecting more frightened young people to call the Centrepoint helpline than ever before. We must answer their calls. Please, call 0808 281 8005 today or search Centrepoint 5 online to start your gift of just £5 a month. In the months ahead, you'll know your gift is helping more homeless young people get the safety and support they urgently need. Thank you.
People love to find me, but me, I love finding the perfect gift. Like for my friend Wenda, who loves coffee. Or my neighbour, who's become surprisingly flexible. Or for my little dog Woof, who eats big.
Gifts that say I get you. Etsy has it.
I now request the Honourable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
This is India Global. I'm Gaurie and we are now going to do a deep dive into how things are looking as far as Bangladesh is concerned. No relief, as we are telling our viewers, as far as the Hindu priest is concerned. But there's a lot more that's happening in Bangladesh right now. A court on Wednesday rejected the bail plea of Chinmoy Krishna Das, who has been arrested and jailed by local authorities on charges of sedition. Local media reported that Chittagong Metropolitan Sessions Judge passed the order on Wednesday, citing that this plea was rejected because he did not have a lawyer's letter of attorney on his behalf. The petition, which will be now heard on 2nd of January next year, now states that Das, who's been suffering, remember, from various diseases including diabetes and respiratory illnesses, has been arrested in a false and fabricated case. With attacks on minorities, especially Hindus, continuing, some are trying to flee to India in desperation to escape Islamic radicals, which have now been mainstreamed in Bangladesh. Even Chinmoy Krishna Das's lawyer, Rabindra Ghosh, who's a senior lawyer in the Bangladesh Supreme Court and human rights activist, was in fact manhandled, threatened when he went to the Chittagong court and submitted the pleas for Chinmoy Krishna Das. Before we go any further, take a look at this report that my colleague Saurabh Gupta filed, and then we go across and ask more in terms of where do Bangladesh-India relations go from here. But first up, this report.
This minor girl from Panchagor in Bangladesh, whose family are ISKCON devotees, fled to India to save her life after threats from radicals in her country. She entered India illegally and was apprehended by the BSF on Tuesday night and was handed over to the Chopra police in Bengal, who then sent her to her shelter home. Her relatives with whom she had planned to stay in India say threats from radicals have become unbearable.
থানায় আসি স্যার আমার সম্পর্ক ওই নাতিন হবে তো আমি আমার ফোন নাম্বার ওরা জানে সেজন্য আমি থানায় আসছি তো ওনাকে দেখা করার জন্য তো ওরা তো ওইদিকে ও আমাদের ইসকনের ভক্ত বলে ও টর্চারিং করেছে তারপর ওকে কিডন্যাপ করবে এই ভয়ে তো ও আসছে সেজন্য আমার ফোন নাম্বার ওরা নিয়েছিল
Another Hindu youth, 21-year-old Jimon Barman, fled to India after he was threatened and accused by hardline fundamentalists of participating in protests for the release of jailed Hindu monk Chinmoy Krishna Das. He was stopped by the BSF when he entered India by swimming in the Korotwa River in Rajganj block and handed over to the Rajganj police station. After interrogation, the police arrested him and he was produced in the Jalpaiguri district court on Wednesday.
আমি একজন সনাতনী আমাদের হিন্দুদের উপর অনেক টর্চার হচ্ছে যার কারণে আমি বাংলাদেশ থেকে ইন্ডিয়াতে আসি
Meanwhile, incarcerated Hindu monk Chinmoy Krishna Das remains in jail as his new lawyer also faced attacks in a Chittagong court. Senior advocate Rabindra Ghosh says he was attacked when he appeared in court for the Hindu monk.
আমার অ্যাপ্লিকেশনগুলো মুভ করি আমার পিছন দিক দিয়ে দুই একজনে ধাক্কা দিয়েছে আমি জানি না তবে আমার ওদেরকে দেখলে আমি চিনতে পারবো
West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has asked the union government to act.
আমরাও সকলে প্রোটেকশনের দাবি জানাচ্ছি আমরা চাই গভর্নমেন্ট অফ ইন্ডিয়া মাস্ট অ্যাক্ট মানে কি মানুষকে নিরাপত্তা দিক মানুষকে যারা ফিরতে চায় ফিরিয়ে আনার ব্যবস্থা দিক কাজেই টোটালটা গভর্নমেন্ট অফ ইন্ডিয়ার ব্যাপার আমরা শুধু চাই তারা আমাদের মাইনরিটিসদের রক্ষা করুক
India is walking a diplomatic tightrope when it comes to dealing with the Bangladesh situation as anti-India elements and radical forces continue to target minorities and Hindus in Bangladesh. The Indian government has been pushing for the safety of minorities, especially Hindus. But in a relationship that has so many aspects, the challenge for India remains in keeping the neighborhood friendly and stable. With camera person G.D. Shankar in Kolkata, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
All right, that report highlighted how Hindus are trying to flee out from Bangladesh to try and seek refuge in India. But what is the status right now on ground, especially after Foreign Secretary's visit recently? How do relations go from here? Let's get in Saurabh Gupta joining us live from Kolkata to give a sense of how things stand right now. Saurabh, appreciate you joining us live on the show. We heard out and played out your report that talks about how Hindus are trying to flee Bangladesh. But talk to us about the fact that there's been a very high-level visit that has happened from India. Efforts are to try and see the best possible ways to, once again rebuild this relationship. But some of the news coming in from Bangladesh doesn't give that much hope right now, whether it is regarding Chinmoy Krishna Das or whether the fact that Jai Bangla is not going to be a slogan anymore.
You know, I mean, we've been reporting this, that Bangladesh as a country in 1971, and today we've got some good news amidst all of this, is that a delegation from Bangladesh will be at least taking part in the Vijay Diwas celebrations. Vijay Diwas celebrations, as you know, is a celebration to commemorate the military victory in 1971 that carved out the nation of Bangladesh, from erstwhile East Pakistan. So obviously this is something that is good news amidst all of this, but the focus really is that, you know, this is a neighborhood that's extremely important from India's perspective. India's Act East policy focuses on neighbors like Bangladesh, which is why the Foreign Secretary made it very clear during his visit that it was not limited to one strand. Currently the times are challenging. Anti-India elements, radical forces, are exerting themselves in Bangladesh. There is a lot of anti-India messaging that's going on, but largely the relationship is important because it's so all-encompassing. There's waterways, there's roadways, there's trade, there's power, there's, you know, internet transit points, ports, so many things. And, you know, India and Bangladesh together are much better than, you know, obviously a bad relationship. So that's something that India is working on.
Absolutely, and there's hope that some of these tensions find a way to sort of get diffused. It may not happen over time, will take time, but I guess that's what diplomacy is all about, being patient and moving forward. Really appreciate you, Saurabh, joining us live on the show to talk more about India-Bangladesh. All right, on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side, talk more about where's Bangladesh headed, where's the specific case about Chinmoy Krishna Das headed, and most importantly, what should New Delhi be doing next? We come back and talk more on that. Stay with us.
Join me and the Style Squad. Shop now exclusively at Freeman's.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma, but so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pamelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 021 3925 and giving £2 a month to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 021 3925, text C7 to 82727, or go online and give just £2 a month now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
This could be a good life. They don't need to think twice. I will find a new life. I'll be honest.
IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
Christmas can be challenging at the best of times.
Okay, Mum.
But for families who have lost or are losing a loved one, it can be overwhelming.
They're here, they're here. Oh, Annie, hello. So pleased to see you.
So amid the anger, could you give £23 to fund an hour of care? In between the stress...
It's not too late. No, you're not too late.
Could you fund an hour of comfort? And amongst the grief...
You're not alone.
Could you fund an hour of joy?
Okay, Mum. You all right?
This isn't the kind of Christmas anyone ever wanted.
But with your help, we can be there to make it the best one possible.
To give £23 for an hour of care, comfort and joy, please call 0800 810 0212, text CARE to 70488 or search Marie Curie Christmas. Thank you.
All right, this is India Global. We continue our discussion in terms of what next for Bangladesh, what next for Bangladesh-India ties, and what next for Chinmoy Krishna Das. Joining me to talk more on this is Pinak Ranjan Chakrabarti, who's a former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh. Also have Muqtadir Rashid, who's a senior journalist, joining me from Dhaka. And we also have Professor Dr. Nazmul Hassan joining me from Dhaka as well. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Let me start with you, Ambassador Chakrabarti. We talk just a day after, 2 days after a very important high-level visit by India to Bangladesh in an effort to repair some of the damage that's been done to this relationship. How hopeful are you in terms of what next for the relationship, especially in the backdrop of news that's coming in, specifically with regard to Chinmoy Krishna Das?
If you look at the geography of where we are located, as we have been saying that India and Bangladesh are joined at the hip. And we have to take care, keep that in mind always, that, we don't want Bangladesh to be disturbed, or there should be violence, because we had a very stable relationship. We were doing a lot of trade, 18 billion almost pre-COVID figures. Then there were many infrastructure projects. There were energy projects. Bangladesh depends a lot on India on electricity. Then also the Numaligarh to Parbatipur pipeline with supplies. So there was a lot of, shall we say, integration of the economies, which was good for both countries for mutual benefit. But then, of course, this happened, the political upheaval. Bangladesh is not new to political upheaval. If you look at its history from 71, there have been several such upheavals, and accompanied by violence, etc., and also attacks on minorities even then. And the fact that today the minorities are probably around 8%, 7-8% of the total population, is a statistic that that gets your eyeballs. I mean, the sense that where it was before and what it is today. But that is a legacy of history, of partition, yes, other factors. Now, today, I think after the Foreign Secretary's visit, I think the engagement process has been raised to a higher level. I think our High Commissioner was engaging everybody there. And it has been our policy to engage with any government that is there in power in Dhaka, be that a military dictator or anybody, or a caretaker government. I was there when the caretaker government was in power from 2007 to 2008.
Yes.
And we dealt with them as well. And in fact, we did some extraordinary things during that period, because there was a lot of cooperation, mutual cooperation.
Yes.
Although you can say that even that caretaker government had exceeded its limit of 3 months and stayed on for 2 years, which was many people felt it was unconstitutional. And the
sort of going the same path right now, that the interim government is also 4 months almost, and still there are no signs of an election or an electoral roadmap.
We don't see any roadmap for elections. They've been talking about reforms. We don't know what kind of reforms.
Exactly.
So it's very uncertain at the moment, but we'll have to stay engaged to understand and follow what's happening there, because India has an interest in a stable and a peaceful,
absolutely,
absolutely,
sir,
and prosperous Bangladesh.
Absolutely. Let me put that out to our guests from Dhaka. Muqtadir Rashid, India has every reason to have a stable, secure, prosperous Bangladesh. And we've tried our level best, and we continue to do so. The high-level delegation was also part of that exercise. But the fact is, there is also commentary incidents that are coming in from Bangladesh that continue to seem to suggest that the democratic backsliding hasn't stopped right now in Bangladesh. Whether you take the case of Chinmoy Krishna or whether you take the case of repeated efforts being made to sort of scrub Mujibur Rahman completely from Bangladesh's history, you know, whether it was, you know, the Jai slogan, Jai Bangla slogan being sort of removed. Part of a larger problem, isn't it, Muqtadir Rashid?
First of all, I don't think that the Joy Bangla slogan is a slogan that everyone has to say. If anyone, any Bangladeshi want to say Joy Bangla, that's okay. If anyone to say Joy Bangladesh Jindabad, it's absolutely okay. And there is no slogan should be imposed for any person who would be a citizen of the country. This is absolutely independent of any individual who wants to chant slogan like Joy Bangla, let him do.
Okay.
Or if any, so okay, there is no issue with that.
Okay.
The issue is whether you are free to chant that slogan or not.
Okay,
So
this is
if-
not
if
about the
I am
slogan.
happy-
This is not about the slogan. What I'm trying to say is that the democratic backsliding that is worrying India the last couple of months,
No.
and the fact that you take the case of Chinmoy Krishna, that is what we are talking in the backdrop of a high-level visit that is aimed to repair the relationship.
So you are putting Chinmoy Krishna Das as an indicator of democracy, and I'm sorry, I humbly disagree with that. Bangladesh is not in a democratic process right now. It's a transitional period. Everyone in the world is endorsing in this process that it is a transitional democratic process. Unless we have this kind of situation, unless our friendly nation, India, is helping this process, we can't make it successful. Unfortunately, when the New Delhi is trying hard, their best to bring all the problem, to solve the problem, we are seeing some radical element in India and some bad element in over the social media are
Where are
spoiling
the
our
radical
bilateral
elements in
relation.
India? Where are the radical
course.
elements? Ambassador Chakravarti, respond to that. What are the radical elements in India that our Bangladeshi guest is talking about?
I think he's talking about some right-wing Hindutva forces, but then they are no comparison with what is happening in Bangladesh. The radical Islamists have virtually taken over. They are ruling the roost there. And I think they are running the government from behind Professor Yunus and various other people. And all kinds of things are happening. In fact, today, I think yesterday, the Bangladesh government admitted that there were 88 communal attacks on Hindus, for example. They have said it openly and they issued a statement. Earlier, they were saying that, no, this is not communal, this is political, and Professor Yunus himself has gone on record to say all that. So, you see, the reality has to be acknowledged before we can tackle it. And and I think the Islamist forces and all the Islamic organizations who are fanning much of the violence, and also the propaganda aspect of it.
Exactly.
And they are, of course, the social. Let's not talk about social media, where nobody can control people, say all kinds of things, and it's somehow it just instigates people on both sides. That's not a good thing, but then we cannot stop it.
Exactly.
So I think as governments, and we have to keep engaged. We have to understand the feelings of both sides. And what happened to Chinmoy, I think, is not a good thing for Bangladesh, because why was he arrested? What are the charges?
Why was he arrested? And
No,
such serious charges. Let's ask this to Professor
sedition
Nazmul.
charge, which is not clear as to
Exactly. Professor Nazmul, now the fact is two things. Why the serious charges that have been slapped on Chinmoy Krishna Das, and also the fact that the Bangladesh government has admitted 88 documented attacks on Hindu minorities. Forget the ones that are undocumented. These are documented attacks. So, when we are talking about the fact that the radical Islamist element has been emboldened in Bangladesh right now, what can be done to bring democracy back and also ensure that the radical Islamist elements do not overpower Bangladesh society?
Well, there is a hint in the statement of His Excellency, Mr. Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, who was our High Commissioner in Dhaka from India. he said that we should speak about the reality. So let's call spade a spade. Hindus are the second largest majority in Bangladesh, and others are Christians and the Buddhists. And, Chinmoy Krishna Das's plight has been largely sort of affected the second largest community in Bangladesh. And there was a demonstration in Chittagong, in Dhaka and other places to show solidarity with his cause. I mean, majority people may not see eye to eye. And the rise of anti-Indian sentiment is a reality in Bangladesh nowadays. This is not 72, this is 2024. And the long Hasina rule actually created this alienation. And we don't know where we are heading to.
What alienation are you referring to? What alienation are you talking about?
The rise of Islamic sentiment is no wonder there. And, Bangladesh is former East Pakistan as well. I mean, it didn't start its journey in 71. So it all started in 1905 with the, division of Bengal and then establishment of Muslim League in 1906.
No, we can't go so far back in time. I know about the Muslim League, the Bengal partition, Direct Action Day. There is all of it that is there, all of it documented, including the fact that the atrocities on Hindu minorities continue. I'm running out of time. Ambassador Chakravarti, quick closing comments, 30 seconds please. You heard the two guests from Bangladesh. How do we go past this?
Well, we can't go past it if we start pointing fingers and blaming each other. And I think the Bangladeshis must realize that blaming India for all their problems is not the right way to go. And, everything in Bangladesh is not a problem created by India. And I think their internal problems, we are not responsible for. If they can't manage their own democracy, then why should India be held responsible?
Exactly.
This is what I cannot understand.
Absolutely.
I would say that India must strongly support the return to democracy.
Exactly.
Which I don't see at the moment any plan. After all, elections have to be held.
Absolutely. Elections have to be held and India's support must continue. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm completely out of time. Muqtadir Rashid, I owe you another interview and I'm going to ensure that we get you next week as well to give you more time. But thank you so much, all of you, for speaking to me on India, Bangladesh. There's always hope on which we end this conversation. And shifting focus now to another very important story, FBI Director Chris Wray will resign at the end of the Biden administration. Remember, he had a 10-year tenure, but he's chosen to resign early. It's a huge story because he's cleared the way for Trump's pick, Kash Patel. Trump originally nominated Wray after firing the previous FBI director, announced that he will nominate Kash Patel for the role, although Wray still has about 3 years left from his 10-year tenure. Trump lauded Wray's resignation announcement in a Truth Social post, saying that it's a great day for America as it will end the weaponization of the Justice Department. Now, how does this pan out? The impact of this and how will Kash Patel and Trump go about what they feel is weaponization of the Justice Department? Let's get in Prabhat Chilani to talk more on this and explain to us the significance of Chris Wray clearing the decks essentially for Kash Patel. Mr. Chilani, how significant is this in terms of clearing the decks for Kash Patel to come in by Chris Wray?
Well, Kash Patel is running into a lot of congressional resistance because the deep state doesn't want Kash Patel to be in charge of FBI. So like Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel faces an uphill task, but if confirmed, he's going to shake up the FBI for sure. In fact, today itself, Trump on Truth Social posted that, in fact, he called the Department of Justice the Department of Injustice, and he said that he will end the weaponization of the American legal system and help restore the rule of law. That will be the main task for Kash Patel if he's confirmed by the Senate.
Right. And he's been very vocally saying that, you know, the way that he was hounded, his house was raided, all of it illegally done. He says that all of this could end with Chris Wray making way for Kash Patel. If he is approved by the Senate, how much do you think he could actually, Kash Patel could shake up the system as Trump wants it?
We should not forget that this weaponization of the US justice system has also become an instrument of foreign policy for the deep state. The two indictments that relate to India, one in October against a former Indian intelligence officer, and then last month's indictment of Gautam Adani, both were politically driven indictments. They reveal that the Department of Justice not only has been weaponized against political opponents at home, but also is being used against specific overseas targets. So if Kash Patel becomes the FBI director, his task would be to overhaul the FBI and halt its politicization. The question is whether Trump will succeed in reining in the deep state, because Kash Patel is going to be working under Trump. And the FBI is only one of the pillars of the deep state. The other pillars of the deep state, including the 18 intelligence agencies, Tulsi Gabbard will be in charge of those agencies if she's confirmed by the Senate.
Yes.
Then also, you know, we have the State Department, which is also an important pillar of the deep state. In fact, in March 2020, Trump called the State Department the Deep State Department. So, you know, today he has taken on all the pillars of the deep state, but the question is whether he'll succeed in reining in the deep state, or the deep state will succeed in reining in Trump, as it did in the first term of Trump. In the first term of Trump, the deep state placed Trump constantly on the defensive.
Absolutely.
It cooked up this Russia collusion hoax.
Yes.
There were two impeachment efforts against Trump.
Yes.
All that kept Trump busy, with, you know, defending himself.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there'll be a repeat of some of those machinations in Trump's second term. So I think there should be no illusions that despite whatever he has promised, that he'll be able to do what he has promised to do.
All right, Mr. Chirani, thanks so much for giving us that quick perspective on a story that I'm sure we'll come back and revisit later as well. All right, on that note, completely out of time in this edition of India Global. Thanks for watching.
This is an urgent winter appeal from CARE International. Around the world, conflict and extreme weather have forced women and their families from the safety of their homes. Now they brace themselves for a brutally cold winter without adequate shelter, clothing or heating.
الولاد ما نعرف ندفيهم وبرد وصدي يعني نمنا الشتي ما يجينا هغطي مابو أطفالنا حفيانين أطفالنا جوعانين.
With no home, shelter or way to keep warm, winter is a terrifying time. Help CARE work with women when disaster strikes. By donating right now, you could help provide warmth, shelter and supplies to women who urgently need them. Call 0800 144 5550 or go online to give what you can. For women left with nothing, your donation means everything. Please donate today and help women like Rama seek shelter and hope this winter. Thank you.
looks just like him.
Christmas memories made by Alexis, brought to you by Etsy.
If you're homeless, you're never safe.
This Christmas, too many young people, like Kira, will be at risk, right here on our streets. But you could help a young person find safety and begin a new future by sponsoring a room at Centrepoint.
It's more than a room. You get real support and training to help you get your life back on track.
This Christmas, please search Centrepoint Room online today or call 0808 281 8003 and be the turning point for a young person like Kira. Thank you.
It's been a difficult year for our family. We're finally going through my Tom's things. I want to make him proud, and that starts by making sure our son is protected.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
That's great.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
That money could help with debts or my funeral costs. I'll do it.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Kerala High Court's tough remarks on the VIP treatment given to actor Dileep in Sabarimala says it's very, very serious and asks what privilege he has. Adani Group stock surge at the markets gain 9% as the group gets past all the negativity. And a historic moment for Indian chess as Gukesh becomes the youngest ever world chess champion after a last-ditch blunder from Ding Liren. First up this evening, the important question we are raising: has there been too much sensationalism and judgmental remarks that have clouded a substantial and sensitive and responsible conversation on the death by suicide of 34-year-old Bengaluru-based engineer Atul Subhash? Atul had made serious allegations of harassment against his estranged wife and her family, and a team from the Bengaluru police, which had filed cases based on Atul's statement, is in Jaunpur in Uttar Pradesh to serve a notice to the wife's family. While the legal process will take its course, the sensationalism and the reactions to the tragic incident seem disturbing. In fact, too much publicity to the case itself could have psychological implications and needs to be probed into. Remember, in March 2023, a Kerala man had died by suicide in New Zealand after recording his discontent with his wife on a video which went viral on social media. Several important questions on the issue to be sensitively addressed here, including the publicity by the media, television channels to the case. Joining me this evening, noted women's rights activist Brinda Adige, former police officer Sanjay Sahai, senior journalist Aditi Fadnis, and Khushbu Jain, advocate at the Apex Court. We'll try and pose all the questions to the panelists here, but first to you, Brinda. While our prayers and thoughts and sympathies are with the family of Atul, unfortunately, the conversation this tragic incident has been driven by sensationalism and the impact of too much publicity and jumping to conclusions. This could be disturbing and dangerous. What are your thoughts on it?
I completely agree with you. It is disturbing. First and foremost, condolences to the family, very, very tragic. But taking a case of this nature, knowing the antecedents of this case, and then sensationalizing it and saying, now it's time for laws to be gender neutral, to be diluted, to be removed, it's a dangerous law, it's not good. People have not understood that these laws did not come overnight. Laws protecting women, whether 498A or the Domestic Violence Act or POSH, all of these came over struggles, years, decades of struggle. There are lacunae, there are loopholes, but that is not because it is the fault of the law, the way it is read. It is much to do with the functionaries. It is much to do with our patriarchal mindsets. It is a lot to do with the apathy that the systems, the justice system and other duty bearers extend. And nobody talks about mental health. Mental health is a very serious concern and a very serious issue. Neither the courts nor the support service organizations, nobody talks about it. One part of it is the law and whatever is enforced and not enforced. But sensationalizing the whole case and saying that justice has to be extended, absolutely, every crime, there is a victim or victims, and justice must and should be extended. But not at the cost of a large majority of women who are going through similar such situations. That said, I think it is time that this case is an eye-opener for everybody to rethink on how things are happening and how it must or it should happen.
On the one hand is the criminal justice system and the law itself, and you're making an extraordinarily important point on why the laws are the way they are, because they've come about after several struggles. On the other point, Aditi Fadnes, this is also a case of suicide. And when there is so much publicity given to it, and sometimes irresponsible by the mainstream media, by television channels, it could have very adverse impacts. You think there is a streak of irresponsibility there because much of it is driven by the quest for numbers and what gets traction. And it's very important to address the psychological consequences of this.
Oh, absolutely. I think suicide is the worst thing that can happen to any family. It basically means you are exiting the world in protest and you are holding everybody around you responsible, even if on the face of it, it suggests that you are putting the blame on X, Y, or Z and are trying to protect other members. Everybody gets affected by suicide. In many cases, people don't understand why a person had to take such an extreme step. I think the first thing that we have to understand is that in India, the concept of counseling is really effectively non-existent. Every case that comes to court like this should necessarily, mandatorily be sent for some sort of counseling at some level. I don't know whether that happened in this case. Marriage is a very complicated institution. It takes very, very hard work to make a marriage run. There are perceived grievances, there are imagined slights, and it takes a very long time to for a marriage to actually stand up on its 2 feet. Obviously, both individuals in the marriage are responsible for making it run. And if one individual is highly sensitive and is prone to moodiness and other things, then the other partner obviously has to work harder at it. I don't want to pass any judgments, and I don't think anyone should. But it is a deeply tragic protest by a person who commits suicide to basically end his life because he can't take it anymore. And I mean, there are no winners and no losers in this situation.
Yeah, you know, the psychological implications, Aditi, it's extraordinarily important to send out saying that this is not a solution. Sanjay Sahai, you know, when we come down to a case of this nature, and you know, each case is different in its realities, right? There is also, again, exposed is the quest to run to a judgment and be opinionated about something of this nature. How do you see this whole, what's the conversation that surrounded a tragic incident play out? I mean, from the police officer's point of view, how do you see this? I mean, does it worry you, the kind of reactions that you've seen around? Just your thoughts on it.
See, social media is a totally different animal. and we have no way to stop publishing whatever one feels like on the global stage. So that is from where we start, and I don't find any publicity, even at this nature and even irresponsible, that is of no use. I don't find it that way. It becomes of no use when the whole of the criminal justice system does not respond to it. What Brinda said, that these laws came to shape after a huge battle and lot of thoughts and variety of things which went into that. There is absolutely no denying that fact. But the other part of the reality is, then when these laws got finally, they became the statute of the country. Since then till today,